Okay, as I'm warming up my burrito over the campfire, I'm going to, you know, share a few little insights maybe. And I didn't mention Dr. Jensen in the title or the description or anything, but because I don't want to complain about Dr. Jensen's work. He is working hard, trying to understand what the haplogroups are, trying to understand, you know, how everything fits together because, there is this thing called the Table of Nations. And if you go look at the Table of Nations, you'll see there's seven sons of Japheth, five sons of Shem, and four sons of Ham. And those are distinct trees. Now, one thing I may have misrepresented of Dr. Jensen was that, I thought that he had, the Hamitic group, you know, correct, but he's got FGH as being Hamitic, but it's a different family tree. And he's got I and J. He's got I and J as the entire Japhetic family tree. So come on, Dr. Jensen, please. Anyway, because the Elamites, or let's say, hello, Christian Carpenter, how you doing? Good to see you tonight. The Gypsies, who claim to be descended from a Judaic origin in many respects. Well, yes, they are Elamite. They do have the H Y chromosome, but they also do have a significant percentage of the J2Y chromosome. So the J2Y chromosome is, obviously, the Judaic paternal haplogroup. H being the Elamites, because they're the Elamo-Dravidians. It's not too complicated. It's not that hard to figure out. G is Assyrian. That's not too hard to figure out. And F is probably Lydian. Well, but then we have the Aramean. We got to figure out who the Aramean is. That might be another F because there's more than one F, believe it or not. So you have the F1, the F2, the F3. Then you have the G, which could be Assyrian, which I'm thinking more and more maybe it is Assyrian because wait a minute, where did Abraham come from, and where did his shepherds come from? Where did the shepherds come from that were that went along with Abraham and assimilated into the Judaic population? Oh, think hard. Think. Oh, yeah, Assyrian. Assyrian. Okay, so maybe one of Abraham's shepherds were Assyrian from the beginning. So maybe that's the reason for the GY chromosome in the Judaic populations. Of course, the TY chromosome we know probably it's because of the Phoenicians, which are the Greek Sea peoples. The LY chromosome was taken all the way to India because of Alexander the Great. Maybe not the TY chromosome as well, but there were Greek Sea peoples, maybe not as much. Maybe they went there on their own. That's a possibility. But, you know, again, we have to revert back to the conventional understanding that the Middle East is the Semitic population. And it doesn't matter if the Judaic people were kicked out of Israel multiple times, 2 or more times. They left Israel, the Judaic population. So, and where they go? They went north. Where they go? Went north. North is the Caucasus. North is Turkey. North is Iran, Iraq, Italy, and that's where the Judaic J2 Y chromosome is to this day. So my intent is not to complain a whole lot about Dr. Jensen's conclusions, but just to get everything straight, get everything right. Because I was thinking that he had like A, B, C, D, and E. That's Hamitic. It's obvious, right? No, but he has F, G, and H as being Hamitic. Well, wait a minute. That's a different family tree. All you got to do is go look at the family tree, the heredity. It's a different family tree. That's not associated with the E or the B or the C or any of that. It's another family tree. So, I mean, it's common sense. Common sense. Japheth. Everybody knows. Everybody knows Japheth went north. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows it. Meshach went north. Magog went north. Gomer went north into Europe. Riphath went into southern Europe. Ashkenaz, Gomer's son, went into, northern Europe or Europe. And Togarma would be the R2 because it's R. That's the other lineage from Gomer. It's not real complicated. It's not that hard. Q is a different lineage because Q is accompanied by the A maternal mtDNA chromosome, which is kind of hard to grasp sometimes. Like when you switch between the Y chromosome and the mtDNA, you're talking about 2 different universes, of course. So the mtDNA that accompanied Madai is the A and the X and the W, and I guess the Y and the X or whatever. It's a whole bunch of lineages that branch off from the A, or vice versa, or whatever. But they're all from the same origin. So, and it's a Semitic maternal mtDNA, haplogroup. Now it's easily confused. It's very confusing, but you just have to separate between the Y chromosome and the mtDNA. So the mtDNA that accompanies Madai, the QY chromosome, all the way to America, all the way to Europe, and it seems wherever he goes, because he's in the Jewish population as well. So the X2A DNA is in the Jewish population, and it's in America as well, in the copper mines of America, where the R1B also is, and probably where the T is, but they just don't want to say. We don't have all the information, but we're getting there. But I don't want to complain too much about Dr. Jensen because he is doing a great work as far as the genetic distance is concerned, because you can't have we can't have the genetic distance that we have in the human Y chromosome and the mtDNA, haplogroups. You can't have that mutation rate going back hundreds of thousands of years. It's just totally absurd. Totally absurd. I mean, I have, believe it or not, I have like a Y chromosome, and out of all the people that have tested, I have two. I have two close relatives according to the Y chromosome. I mean, in the paternal Y chromosome lineage, and it goes back 300 years, and before that, it goes back all the way, to England, all the way, who knows how many 5 more generations. But then if I have in common with a cousin with 4 differences, well then all of a sudden that's a different family name. So it doesn't go all the way back to my ancestral name. All of a sudden there's another name. So what does that tell you? That means it goes back to the time before they started naming people with surnames. Because before that, it was the son of so-and-so, the son of so-and-so, the son of so-and-so. But once they started giving surnames, then if there's 4 differences, in the 67 Y chromosome test, then it's another surname. It's not even my surname. So that just shows you the mutation rate. It's not that fast. It's not that fast. I mean, if I go back 300 years to my cousins with my surname, 300 years to the time of the the Revolutionary War, the founding of this nation, 300 years ago. So that 300 years, and there's only 2 mutations between cousins that I'm related to, going back to a common ancestor 300 years ago, common ancestor 300 years ago, and I only have 2 mutations. That's pretty slow. That's pretty slow mutation rate, and that's with the 111 position, because I didn't see any reason to go pay for the test, the 500 test, the 700 test, because 1,100 places is enough. 1,100 in 1,100 places, and of course, the more places you have, the more chances of a mutation rate there is. But if I in the 111 places, and I only have 2, and so in one time, in one instance, I have a cousin living today with a common ancestor living 300 years ago with 1 mutation, one mutation from me, and it's it's surreal to be counting the places of your mutations and his mutations, and it's all exactly the same. And you're looking at it, and it's going, and that's the same as mine, and that's the same as mine, and that's the same as mine. And there's one difference from a cousin living today with a common ancestor 300 years ago. I mean, that's not a sample of everybody, obviously. Obviously, other people have more mutations, but I'm just saying, the mutation rate is not that, not that extreme. And Dr. Jensen is doing that work, But anyways, think my burrito is warm by now. But yeah, it's pretty serious. I mean, to be switching, Magog, Magog, Meshach, and Tubal with the sons of Shem. I mean that's serious. That's a very serious thing, and I don't want to understate it. But and you should know who Magog, Meshach, and Tubal are. They're the nations, which includes Taraz, Madai, Gomer, Javan. 7 sons of Japheth. How can you get 7 sons of Japheth and I and J? I and J. It's just, I mean, it's absurd. It's total nonsense. 7 sons of Japheth are supposed to be I and J. Yeah, and Dr. Jensen is saying, like, yeah, submit your test. You might be the person we're looking for. No, we have a sample of just about everybody. We have a sample of just about every paternal haplogroup there is, and there's not going to be a whole lot more, with the exception of, there's a F1, 2, and 3, which hasn't been identified. There's a K 1, 2, 3, 4 that hasn't been identified or traced very well. But other than that, we have samples of every. I mean, if we have samples of people from Papua New Guinea, which are S or M and S and K, M, S, and K, and they know it's all the same family tree. They know it's the same origin, even though it goes way back in time. It goes way back all the way to the beginning. Even with the M and the S, they go way back in time. I mean, they separated way, 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 way back in time. But still, it's a K. It doesn't matter what you label it, it's still a K. And K is supposed to be it's supposed to be K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, and T. It's supposed to be the whole group. But no, it's individual family trees as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, a whole bunch of them. Who knows how many there are. But it's just the way they did it when they started labeling the haplogroups. And they went to South America where the mtDNA started labeling the haplogroups A, B, C, and D. And it turns out A is a Asiatic Semitic haplogroup. In other words, it's a descendant from Shem in Asia, all throughout Asia, which includes Eurasia, which is in Europe as well, so which is the A, the X, the Y, the W, whatever. So, and then there's another one that goes all the way to Australia, it seems, But then there's a Semitic haplogroup of the mitochondrial DNA, which is B in America. The next one, was the first one was A, they labeled A. The second one was B, but that's a Middle Eastern Semitic mitochondrial maternal haplogroup. So that's kind of strange as because that's in America. But then the next one is C and D. C and D is an Asiatic mitochondrial DNA haplogroup from the wife of Japheth, which is just straight Eurasian in America, of course, because that's where they came from, Asia. So it makes sense. But the interesting thing is the A, which is the Asiatic Semitic mitochondrial DNA haplogroup. And the B is the Middle Eastern Semitic mitochondrial DNA haplogroup. So it's all very, very, very confusing, but I mean, when you look at it carefully, it all makes sense. So, but we need to get Dr. Jensen on board with the Japhethites being the progenitors of the nations, which are 7 sons, 7 Y chromosomes, 7 Y chromosomes. That's Gomer, which is R. That's K, which is Tubal. That's Q, which is Madai. And that's N. Hello, Brother David. David. Brother David. How are you doing? And that's N, which is Meshach, and O, which is Magog. That's 7 sons of Japheth. You can't fit 7 sons of Japheth in the I and the J, and which is what Dr. Jensen is trying to do. But I don't know how he does it, but he's got the F, G, and the H as being Hamitic. But the H is Elam, the F is Lydia, and the G is Assyria. It went all the way to Europe. And I'm thinking now that Abraham, when he went to Canaan, he brought with him an Assyrian shepherd, which became part of the population, which is the reason for the G paternal haplogroup in the Semitic population. But anyways, I think that's about it. God bless everybody. Take care. I got to check my burrito. It's probably overdue. But I just wanted to, because Dr. Jensen came out with another video, I have to like set the record straight, because I also make a mistake about him, getting accurately the sons of Ham. The sons of Ham are A, B, C, D, and E. But he's borrowed from the Semitic line, which is all the way over another family tree, the F, G, and the H, and he has them as Hamitic for some reason, which makes no sense to me. But I thought he had the Hamitic population correct, so I had to correct that. No, he's got it wrong. But I'm open to suggestions. If anybody if you can convince me, convince me otherwise, I'll be interested in, looking into it. But yeah, my brother David, because he's got an IY chromosome just like I do. So he's my brother. God bless everybody. Take care.